Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can see me okay. I think that we should be all good. We are live right now on YouTube and X. So make sure before you do anything, help us reach our goal of 1 million subscribers by next year. You can subscribe right now. It don't cost you nothing. It's free of charge. Just gotta just move your little finger right there, just boop. And if you would like to get all the notifications, you can even hit the little notification bell. For real, it's that simple. We gotta help independent journalists get the microphone that these loud ass mainstream media talking like they just mainstream media on the internet people, guys. And they come here, they dominate the space, and there's actually tangible consequences to it. Propaganda is real, it works. That's why they engage in it so much. That's why we have to use counter propaganda from true independent journalists in order to defeat them. And that's where you come in. It don't cost nothing to subscribe. So hit that subscription button. We'll do some shout outs and we're gonna get started. Adrian, what's going on? Sir Bikes a lot. What's up? What's up? What's up? Where's everybody watching from? Where you streaming from? X, YouTube, what city you at? What country you in? A lot of people. We got a lot of people watching from the UK recently. I'm assuming because of my appearance on George Galloway. So appreciate you guys. Shout out to all my Brits, wherever you may come from. We got a great show today. We're going to talk about Anne Reid exposing MSNBC for something that I actually said that she had done a while ago. Not she, but MSNBC. I actually was talking about how weird and sketch it was, the way that they were firing journalists and who they were choosing to fire instead of others, and the money that was being spent or not being spent, and how all of that seemed to correlate with coverage of Gaza or lack thereof. We're also going to expose how Iran exposed a false flag attempt by Israel. I know, surprise! I can't believe it. It's not like anyone saw that coming. We're also going to talk. We're also going to talk about Mamdani, because there's been a lot of debate about Mamdani. Like, I hate it. I'm not laughing because it's funny, because I wish that we could just be excited and have the confidence in him that maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago we would have had if we hadn't already been through this before. But we have the benefit of hindsight. We can't just act like we don't. So we're going to dive into that too. And Iran left the IAEA. Or IAEA. Yeah, the IAEA. IAEA. Yeah. Boy, I hate acronyms. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about that too, because it's important, considering how they were absolutely useless in preventing this war, despite the fact that they inspected Iran like more than any other country by far. So, first things first, man. Let's check out this clip of Anne Reid on The Breakfast Club. Like I said, everybody, make sure you like this video. Make sure you share.
I think the other piece is Gaza. And you just can't get away from the fact that talking about Gaza in a way that humanizes Palestinians is not the usual way that cable news operates, or that any news in this country operates. For whatever reason, that topic makes people uncomfortable. And it doesn't make regular folks uncomfortable, because I think the majority of Americans agree that what's happening there is not just a genocide, but is unconscionable for us to participate in. I think most Americans believe that, agree with that. But there was a discomfort with that topic that I saw in the policing of my social media, in requests to not like certain things on social media. Just there was a sense that topic, it makes people uncomfortable.
Saying you want to see innocent men, women, and children not be killed shouldn't make anybody uncomfortable.
It shouldn't. It didn't with Rwanda. When the Hutu and the Tutsi were slaughtering each other, we very easily in the media said that was a genocide, right? I mean, if you look at what Russia is doing to Ukraine, when they bomb a school or a hospital or a music school, that is reported as barbaric. It's reported as genocidal. When they're stealing Ukrainian children and kidnapping them to Russia, there's moral clarity from the media.
To be clear, that's not happening, but Just so you all know. But it does illustrate the hypocrisy. It does illustrate the hypocrisy, but that's not a thing.
And there's no hesitation to say that what Russia is doing is evil. But when it comes to what's happening to the people in Gaza, number one, it isn't talked about that much on U.S. media. If you go overseas, it's on a lot more. And then number two, the way it's spoken about is, I don't know, maybe it's like when a friend is doing something wrong, you don't want to talk about them. You don't want to say anything negative. But there is a hesitation. I definitely think that's a thing in American media.
Now, to be clear, I personally feel like she was almost reserved in her description of just how uncomfortable American media is with talking about Gaza. She was like, oh, it's like kind of like when a friend doesn't want to talk about another friend. Yeah, that friend is AIPAC. You know they don't want to talk about Israel because they're getting paid not to talk about it. And not to mention, if we're being frank, this isn't conjecture, this is just fact. The majority of media, if not all of mainstream media, is owned by Zionists. It doesn't matter if you are looking at Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, Turner and them. Like, it doesn't matter which side of the political aisle, which ideology they fall under, they're all Zionists. It's actually terrifying how consistent that is, actually. It's like, yeah, man, I hate communism. I hate socialism. Oh, but what about Zionists? Oh, love those guys. Yeah, those genocidal maniacs. What an inspiration. Like, okay. So yeah, she's right about that. But what's crazy to me is how we saw what Joy is saying is true. And y'all know I don't like Joy. I don't have any love for Joy whatsoever. This is one of the only issues really outside of anything having to do with race that Joy and Reid actually like damn near crashed out on, to the point where all of us were actually surprised, because we were expecting her to fold on the issue of Gaza for quite some time. Some people want to believe that it was merely her ratings that got her fired, but it needs to be kept in the context. All of MSNBC had dropping ratings. All of MSNBC was doing shitty. But only Joy Ann Reid at that time had a primetime spot, was getting paid relatively more than almost everybody else except for Rachel Maddow, and was willing to discuss Gaza. And where she wasn't willing to actually talk about Gaza on the show, she was talking about it on her social media. I remember like, this is kind of weird to see her obsessed over Gaza like this in a way that we are, right? Well, of course, simultaneously getting damn near every other issue wrong, but it's the truth. But to reinforce the claim that she's making, people have to remember what happened at the beginning of this war and who else was working for MSNBC whenever, or who was working for MSNBC, and then they were no longer working for MSNBC. They found out from the crib that they didn't have a show anymore. Y'all remember when Mehdi Hassan just didn't show up to work one day? Y'all remember? I did a hotspot covering this. I was like, damn, I know I don't like Mehdi. And also, we all know Mehdi is merely using the issue of Gaza to convince people that he's progressive and that he is anti-Zionist and da-da-da-da. Like, I don't believe in the conviction of Mehdi Hassan. Once again, don't get that confused. However, I'm just acknowledging the reality that MSNBC literally fired this man before he even got a chance to go on his show to bring attention to what was going on in Gaza. Like, they saw him, they were like, let me look at this. Let me put my little pigment card up here. Measure your skin tone. Ooh, brown. Yeah, no. There's a chance that he's going to talk about Gaza and it's not going to be favorable towards Zionists. And he got fired. And two of his other colleagues got fired. I can't remember their names, but there were two other Arab journalists, Muslim journalists, who got fired. I think one of them got fired while he was in Israel, while he was in Gaza. Not even joking. So I find it even more interesting because there are some who will kind of toe that line. There are other journalists in mainstream media who have toed the line of Gaza. Like, they will before eventually, bending the knee and saying what they all say, Israel has a right to defend itself. they will still toe the line and will admit when Netanyahu or Israel does something that is just so egregious that they can't possibly ignore it, like whenever they kill those UN workers or those NGO workers. But usually they're white, they don't go that hard, and they are held to a different standard, to be frank, than those of color. And I feel like that's important to mention, actually. Because even with the way, for example, that Candace Owens gets treated by conservatives for her coverage of Gaza, by conservatives, even for the way that she was like, yeah, nah, I'm not down with going to war with Israel or with Iran for Israel. Like, it's a clear difference. Like, it's almost like they punish people of color, black people, Desi, Arab, whatever, like, because they're saying it without saying it. They're telling you, motherfucker, you know why we hired you. You know why we let you in the club. Whether it be Candace because of her ridiculous coverage of black issues or any issues dealing with race, right? Because she was pandering at that point. And that was right after she just got done riding Obama's job, trying to become famous off of him. Y'all don't know that. And she tried to ride the Obama wave. Then she tried to ride the Bernie wave. When that didn't work, tried to ride the Trump wave. That's how Candace Owens got famous. Okay? Flip more than a light switch. But on this Israel issue, where she's been surprisingly consistent on, even down to the Iran conflict, she has taken more heat than any other conservative that I can think of who was also calling out Trump for his stance on Iran. And it's funny to see, because I know exactly why. I'm like, I know exactly why. It's because y'all are like, how dare you? You knew what your job was. How dare you step out of line, black woman? So when it came to Mehdi Hassan getting fired and his other Arab and Muslim colleagues, and then Anne Reid getting fired from MSNBC, people thought it was ratings, but their ratings were already suffering prior to that. People thought it was money, but they were out here giving Rachel Maddow a raise while decreasing everybody else's money. And also, MSNBC got unlimited piles of money. To be frank, as long as they continue to push Big Pharma's agenda, as long as they continue to push Israel's agenda, Zionist agenda, as long as they continue to push the military-industrial complex, they will always have money. They will always have to debate where that money is best spent, but they will always have money. But at the end of the day, like, mainstream media cannot be trusted. This is one of the reasons why I was talking about this million subscriber thing, why I've been pushing it, and why, like, literally one day came to me and Jim's like, bro, you need 1 million subscribers. That's the only way you're going to be able to break this algorithm, right? This matrix of media, and pull people away from this, from companies, media conglomerates that literally push genocide. Because when you're, like, for example, anyone who watches my show knows I take a lot of pride in the fact that, generally speaking, especially when I'm on my game, I could be about 6 months to a year in advance. Whether it be, I remember I used to take flack for AOC when I was warning people about her. I mean, and that was years in advance. I was just pointing out inconsistencies. I'm like, yo, y'all don't think this is a problem? People attack me for it. I remember calling out DSA. I remember calling out Bernie. There are a lot of things. I remember talking about Syria. There are so many things that, because of experience, hindsight, and just observing the facts as they are, rather than as I want them to be, I was able to be ahead of 6 months to a year to multiple years in advance. But because I don't have a platform of a Patrick Bet-David, for example, and other people who are just as well-meaning and get the issues right as well, they don't have that type of platform either. The Patrick Bet-Davids, those clips go more viral. Those people, they bring more people in, and it's actually problematic when we're trying to coalition build, because we can't build coalitions with people who are ignorant because they don't know what the hell's going on, because they're following the wrong people because the algorithm is pushing them. It's not their fault. People are propagandized. That's just, it is what it is. But when we see people doing good work and we kind of leave it like, whatever, that's cool. They did a pretty decent job. And you just don't subscribe, you don't support, but you're quick to click on the clip for the popular people just because of the drama. You know, it's kind of like almost like sports. Like you see that in sports media all the time. Like it actually becomes problematic because you don't know that you're feeding the machine, even though all you're trying to do is just get information. Or maybe you're just entertained. That's okay. But when it comes to if you can't be out there as an activist, as an organizer, you know, you got those people that were on the flotilla, Greta Thunberg, my man Thiago, like activists. You can't do that. Okay, cool. You can't get out on the street. You can't even spend money because I know everybody's pockets is tight. But what you can do is affect the algorithm, and that's free. You can't subscribe. You can't share. You can't share clips. I see a lot of y'all sharing clips, clipping up clips, doing whatever. You can't shout out journalists. You can also hold certain people accountable. And I feel like to this day, as much as I dislike I have an extraordinary amount of disdain for Mehdi Hasan. And y'all know how I feel about Anne Reid. But I know that what happened, especially at the time to Mehdi, was actually wrong. It's probably karma, but it was still wrong because they fired this man just because he was Muslim and this Gaza conflict popped off. And that is not right. Friend, foe, like if y'all gonna fire him, it should be because of his shitty Russiagate coverage. If y'all gonna fire him, it's because he's been purposely duplicitous, wrong, erroneous in countless ways. He's engaged in journalistic negligence. That was when you should have fired him. But when you fired him, it was because he happened to be Muslim and the Gaza conflict popped off. That is my issue. So that also serves as a warning to those who decide to engage. You want to play their game. Like you want to be their little black face, their brown face, their Muslim face, right? Like just know you're expendable. Now what you do after you find that out, you know, is up to you. But no, if you choose to engage like that, you'll get Anne Reid. You'll get Candace Owens. You'll get Mehdi Hasan. And, you know, for the most part, the two of them bounce back. But there's only so much space in this space. And you're going to sacrifice a lot of your integrity and a lot of your credibility if you end up being one of those faces that tap dances as Van Jones. Nobody trusts that man anymore. Nobody. So at least, you know, I'll give a shout out to Anne Reid because even though I don't like her, I will give her some credit because admitting that MSNBC, not just MSNBC, but mainstream media has a problem with giving Gaza the coverage that it deserves and that it needs is basically blacklisting her. And she knows that. She's not going to get another mainstream media job, not anytime soon anyway. And she's probably well off enough that it won't matter that much. Probably, maybe, I don't know. But for all her faults, it does take a level of courage to admit that, knowing what the consequences and the fallout will be. Because as much as we can dislike Anne Reid, I think that we can also admit there is an inherent racial bias when it comes to this media game. We don't get as much rope, regardless of whether or not you're mainstream or independent. We don't get as much rope to hang ourselves with. You get like this much. And Anne Reid, being aware of that, still was bold enough to tell the truth. And that truth is necessary because there is a mainstream media audience that listens to the Breakfast Club, and they need to hear that. They need to know that the information that they're getting is either by mainstream media is incomplete or purposely manipulated when it comes to anything having to do with Israel, Gaza. Let me check out this super chat. Eric, what's going on, my guy? Jar with Anne Reid with the Kalinsky brain and do getting it wrong. Getting it wrong. Hey, yo, she do got the Kalinsky real Slim Shady. Blonde. Oh man. In LA, you are arrested and disappeared for being Mexican, US citizen or not. You can have 3 sons in Marines and still get beat up by ICE. What Eric is saying is actually true. So my ex is Mexican, and one of the first things she asked me, like whenever all this popped off, like she would not ask me. First thing she called me was like, "Yo, me and my family are terrified because they're all citizens. They weren't citizens, but they are citizens. So excuse me, a lie. She was a citizen, but her parents had to go through the naturalization process, and believe it or not, that naturalization process took 30 years, 33, I think. No, it was 30 for the dad, 33 for the mom. I'm not even bullshitting. However, if you have just become a citizen, you actually are still like on the radar to some degree. It's hard to explain, but like when her dad got pulled over, for example, it was an uncomfortable situation because he didn't really do anything wrong, but it was like, do you belong here? It was a very obvious sense of like, oh, do you belong here? Like, yeah, bro, I'm a citizen. And he was a resident long before that. Okay. So what's crazy is when it comes to ICE, and I feel like there's a difference to a large degree when you get arrested by ICE versus getting arrested by LAPD, for example, or in that case, Georgia PD. You get arrested by Georgia, the city. They got the city, like Atlanta or Gainesville or something like that, Beaufort. They have to put you through an arraignment, right? They're supposed to. Not saying that always happens, but 9 times out of 10, they put you through an arraignment where you get read your charges. You know exactly what you did. You know what you have to do to get out. You know, you get a chance to contact your lawyer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Getting arrested, and they have to tell you, they generally have to explain to you immediately why you got arrested. But for ICE, it could be, we're going to arrest you because we think that you're lying about your citizenship. There could be an error of the computer. That is a lie, right? Because most of the time they can't actually figure out really quickly if you're a citizen. Like there are people I know, unfortunately, that literally walk around with their social security card. They walk around with their quote unquote papers, right? I know people who have bought a passport, like they don't even use their American passport because, believe it or not, like a Mexican passport, Brazilian passport, there are several passports that are actually better to have than American passports. American passports aren't, I think it's like barely cracks the top 20 of most powerful passports in the world. But they buy an American passport because you cannot have an American passport unless you're an American citizen. You get what I'm saying? So like people have to spend all this extra money just because they know that even if they are a citizen, their rights will still likely be violated. And they have to take every precaution necessary without even having a guarantee that those precautions will be heeded and help them, which is freaking ridiculous. Like American is fucking fascist as shit, bro. It's no, I can tell you how my experience as as an American living in Brazil, for example. Like I had overstayed my visit once before I got my residency. And I thought it was going to be a massive deal because I was in the process of finishing the residency, and the bureaucracy in Brazil is probably just as bad as the bureaucracy in the US. However, the difference is Brazil is aware, because they're trying to improve it. They're actively trying to improve it in there, but unfortunately, technologically, they're behind a little bit on that regard. So they're trying to coordinate everything because they don't even work, like the federal office don't even work 5 days a week and sometimes like 3 days a week. It's a lot to coordinate. So instead of like, I'm over here, I'm trying to explain, I had all my paperwork like proving like, yeah, I'm in the process of getting my residency. I only came back to the States at that point because it was an emergency. I'm in the process of getting my residency. Here's my son's birth certificate, like wife's my marriage certificate, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that you need to prove, like, okay, clearly this person's in the process of being a resident. But the Brazilian, the immigration officer who was Brazilian, basically was like, yeah, man, like I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. The rules are kind of unclear at this point because it was like a 90-day rule for U.S. citizens when it comes to visa. Then it was like an extension rule, but then they rolled it back, and then it was like if you started your residency, then you can't be punished. If it's like they're in the process of constantly changing the rules. Being conscious of that, this man was like, look, bro, just pay like 100 ICE, then you'll be good. It's like $20. Like, it was literally a $20 fine. It was like, yeah, man, just try to just keep it in mind in the future. Like they're in the process of changing everything, and so it's not really it's not your fault. But the quicker you can get your ID, your real ID from Rio de Janeiro, like the better, because then you just show us that, and we'll just be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, all right, bet, appreciate you, and that was it. Because they're like, bro, like you ain't here to make nobody's life hell. You here to take it. Like I'm showed them the like I said, showed them my son's birth certificate and everything. So it was like, oh shit, for real, y'all not mad? They're like, no, bro, like we're aware of how messed up our system is. They have more self-awareness, right, than the U.S. does. It's just the U.S. that acts like that. It's crazy. Even when I went to Mexico, I was kind of surprised at how chill they were about it. They're like, yeah, man, like you got your U.S. passport. I didn't even get a chance to pull it out. I just like, they're like, all right, man, cool, peace. Like, okay, cool. It's dope that other countries are conscious. Like, yo, man, if you are coming here to start problems, you can find out very quickly if someone's coming in your country to start problems. If you want to. Because that's all they had to do. They went and searched my name to make sure I didn't have any felonies or anything like that in the US or in Brazil. Or that I had anything pending in either country. They're like, okay, you're cool. Here you go. Just pay the fine. He said basically they had to give me some type of paperwork to show that they did their job. Basically, that's the only reason they even gave me that. But he was like, I explained to them. I'm like, look, I actually at the time I didn't even break the rule. Or at least the old rules, but the rules had changed and they were in the process of changing, and I didn't know that. And he was like, there's no way for you to know that because they just found out. They found out whenever they looked at my passport and they scanned it. So the US could definitely use a lesson in humanity. I will say that, bro. Let's talk about this. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how we all get to say, we told you so once again. Because if one thing's for sure and two things for certain, if Israel don't get their way, they're going to throw a hissy fit. And that hissy fit usually comes in the form of a false flag attempt. And guess who actually caught caught Israel for the US's ungrateful ass? It was actually Iran. This is exclusive. This is from the Tehran Times, bro. This is from Tehran Times, Mint Press News confirmed. I mean, I thought it was like, maybe this is just some like random blog. No, this is actually real. Exclusive. Israel planned false flag operation on US soil. The plan involved orchestrating a destructive event within the US and fabricating evidence to implicate Iran, thereby manipulating American public opinion and prompting military action. Iran uncovered the Israeli plot through information shared by a friendly nation. Upon learning of the potential attack, Iranians sent messages to US officials and prevented the planned explosion from occurring. In other words, Iran saved the day yet again. I said Iran saved the day yet again. Bro. I mean, there's so many layers to this, I don't even know where to start. Because what have we been told over and over again lately about Iran's intentions on killing American citizens? Their intentions to assassinate the president? Death to America, right? That's what they keep saying. Oh, you guys wouldn't let a country that screams death to America have a nuclear weapon? One, what do you keep saying that for? They don't have one. But two, like I said before, they don't mean death to America. They really mean death to the American empire, and they mostly mean death to the American government that's trying to overthrow their government. But yet and still, they contact the American government to allow the FBI to do their job. And I want you guys to notice something. Now, this came out on the 25th. I actually, before I went back and looked at I thought that the news had broken today, really. The news broke yesterday. I'm over here thinking that it was today because I had not seen a single announcement, some demand for accountability, some we're investigating to figure out what's going on to get to the bottom of this. You know what I saw instead? No, I'm gonna show you what I saw instead. Which is crazy. Like in the context of knowing that we just Iran just helped prevent a false flag. This is what I saw instead. Trump kissing Netanyahu's ass on the same day. This is the same day that they find out Israel was planning a false flag operation in the United States and prevented it because it was going to be carried out. Trump calls for Netanyahu to be pardoned and his trial to be canceled. Breaking news. I was shocked to hear that the state of Israel, which has just had one of its greatest moments in history and is strongly led by Bibi Netanyahu. Bro, you just said he's an idiot the other day. Like, not even 24 hours ago. He was at the fucking stupid countries. And now it's pardon Bibi Netanyahu. They're continuing. It's ridiculous witch hunt against their great wartime minister, Bibi. And I just went and, Bibi and I, bro, you know, it's hard reading Trump's posts because this motherfucker is grammar. It's crazy. I would rather just read slang than read Trump's posts because it's way easier to follow. Bibi and I just went through hell together, fighting a very tough and brilliant longtime enemy of Israel, Iran. And Bibi could not have been sharper or stronger in his love for the incredible Holy Land. You mean the Holy Land he fled before he set that bitch off? Like his beloved Holy Land that he said peace to. Oh, by the way, a bunch of Israelis are buying a bunch of land in Cyprus to have an escape plan because they don't believe Israel's safe anymore. Yeah, I give it about a year or two until Cyprus was never the name of Cyprus. It was always called Israel too. Y'all don't remember? It was promised to them. But he goes on to basically talk about this. He's talking about the corruption trials. So it's weird that he actually made this post. Okay. At the same time, the United States finds out that Israel was planning on committing a false flag. It's almost like it was done on purpose. Like it was meant to, in case the news that Israel committed a false flag began to percolate through all of the media, including mainstream media. That was like I got to distract them by talking about a corruption trial that a lot of people didn't know about, but I would say the people who care, they know about it. Israelis definitely know about it because they're out there protesting Netanyahu, not because they're protesting Gaza. Let's not get that confused. But they don't want to be eliminated from the face of the planet, even though they are not Israelis. You would think, they have a pretty well-funded education system, right? And they have access to all the best universities in the world if they really wanted. They usually have the money to connect and the connections to go where they want. And you would think with all that education available to them, they would understand the connection between you and your behavior towards Gaza, behavior towards Syria, Lebanon, Iran. Those are the things that are connected to your potential elimination off the face of the planet. And you're like, nah, it's just Netanyahu in a vacuum. Nah, bro. It's all of those things. And Netanyahu. Stop cheering for the things that Netanyahu is doing, and you might not face elimination. And you're like, I don't get it. How are those things connected? For real. Talk to a Zionist or I've talked to an Israelis like where they really don't understand. Like they're not getting it. I'm being super like serious. They're like, hold on. What do you mean? How are those things connected? And I'm like, do you trust Netanyahu? No, we hate Netanyahu. But this issue in Gaza where he like allowed it to happen, right? Like he damn near looked like he planned it. He looked like he was alongside Hamas planning all this well in advance when you really dig into it, which we don't have to go into here, but you get what I'm saying. And they're like, yeah, but Palestinians are bad. They're trying to, I'm like, no. You can't quote the propaganda that he is using to justify a genocide and then be like, he's a liar and we can't believe anything he says. It doesn't make any sense. There's a reason that for as corrupt as the Israeli government might be, this man is too corrupt for them. They had planned 70 in total. Bro, there are going to be 70 hearings, and this man has managed to keep putting them off through random acts of war. Like literally, he just like, we're going to start a war with Lebanon today. We're going to start another war or another front in Syria today. He just bombed Syria like yesterday. Dead ass. And in the middle of the situation with Iran, he bombed Lebanon. And I keep telling everybody, why does he keep doing it? Other than the idea of the Greater Israel Project, we know that they have to get rid of Lebanon, they have to get rid of Iran, they have to get rid of Iraq, they have to get rid of Syria. We know that. Cool. However, he's not bombing Jordan because that's a U.S. ally or puppet, rather. But he's starting these conflicts with countries that he knows probably won't fully engage them outside of Iran. That was a little bit risky. But he knows they won't fully engage. However, he can still call it a war. He can still call it a conflict because by Israel's standards, it is a conflict. And he gets to avoid holding an election. And he gets to keep moving the needle on these corruption hearings that will not just expose the crimes that he's committed internationally, but principally the crimes that he committed internally within Israel. How problematic he's been for them. So in the grand scheme, the war with Iran, which we all know who started the war, it was Israel. Yeah, Trump they want regime change in Iran for various reasons, like the US and the West does. However, Israel, and more specifically the Netanyahu, or really Bibi Milikowski, he has his own agenda. But in order to have in order for it to be a long-lasting war, he would have had to have the U.S. get involved. But not just get involved, they would have had to have taken losses. That's why everybody was freaked out whenever the U.S. decided to launch or decided to deploy their fleet to intercept missiles, because there could have easily been a false flag committed against one of those naval vessels. A missile flies and hits one of those naval vessels. There's an explosion randomly. There's not enough people there to prove who was guilty. We know that Mossad is embedded everywhere. And we know that there are branches or people within the U.S. government whose job it is not to tell anybody about Mossad's black ops. And if an American, it just takes one. Iran is even aware of this. They know. It takes one American for the U.S. to be in a never-ending war. One. That's all it would have taken. And Netanyahu would have been president, or prime minister forever, basically. That because I mean, or at least he passed away. I'm not even joking. Like, because a war between Israel and Iran, that war is not lasting. Like a real, I'm on the ground, we're throwing hands, we're not just launching rockets at each other. Like that type of war, because of everybody that would be involved, that's not a 3, 4, 5 year war. That's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's like, I don't forgot what Netanyahu did. That's what would have happened. He would have been the permanent prime minister. And he was willing to take American lives to ensure that happened. You feel me? He was willing to take American lives to make sure it happened. And y'all remember what's crazy? How on Fox News, they were saying the FBI was already warning that the lack of security at the border was going to allow for Iranian sleeper cells to come into the United States and commit a potential terrorist attack. Remember? And we were all like, yeah, bullshit. False flag incoming. Everybody saw it coming. Everybody. No one believed it, except for, the super Zionists It's like, well, hold up. So you're saying that Iran's going to commit their literal let me just be clear. If Iran somehow managed to commit a terrorist attack in the United States, do you understand that would be the first ever successful Iranian terrorist attack on U.S. soil or against a U.S. entity? Y'all do understand that, right? It would be the first ever. Ever. Like, I can't really... I don't think y'all understand how much beef we've been in with we've been in a lot of beef with a lot of countries. The United States has. We call a lot of countries our allies where they have taken lives of American soldiers in the not so recent past or not so distant past. Hell, Israel, shit, they kill Americans probably once a year at some point, like just randomly on purpose, Hannibal Director stuff, like false flag stuff, like. But I don't know another country where the United States has been in an active beef with them for damn near 70 years. And we can't even say with any level of confidence that the Iranian state sent someone and successfully killed an American. Do y'all understand how crazy that is? Like, that is actually nuts. I mean, especially on Iran's behalf, because I can't believe y'all have shown so much restraint. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. All the talk about proxies, right? I don't count that, because when somebody says, "Oh, Hezbollah, Iranian proxy," you could say that about literally any country, damn near anywhere around the world, or any group about anywhere from anywhere around the world. So, for example, if the U.S. was funding Egypt, that means everything Egypt does, good or bad, you get the credit to the U.S. And it does not allow for them to be accountable or responsible for their own actions as a self-determined nation. Like, yeah, their support by the U.S. allows us to predict and anticipate their moves politically, but like, they're still their own country at the end of the day. If a group that spoke Arabic with an Egyptian dialect committed a crime in the Congo, like, they're going to be like, "Oh man, it was a U.S. proxy." No, they're going to say it was probably Egyptians, and it would be Egypt that would be on the chopping block. They would be who would take the blame. Okay, cool. So fast forward, Hezbollah, who resides in Lebanon, they might receive funding from Iran through and arms. They could even receive arms, but they're not the only ones. Like, Hezbollah receives weapons and funding from other groups too, other countries. I assure you, China is probably assisting in that effort. I assure you that Russia probably is assisting in that effort as well. I assure you, obviously, Iran is as well, because it's a matter of national security. It's called bilateral cooperation. But Hezbollah is Hezbollah, and the decisions that they make are Hezbollah's decisions. If they benefit Iran, which they probably do, it is because Iran is telling them to do it. It's because Iran is helping them, because they are like, okay, our goals seem to be aligned for the most part. But like, Hezbollah's Iran-backed terrorist organization. No, they're not a terrorist organization. They're actually a political movement that also has a military. And yeah, Iran helps them because they cooperate together, but you can't blame Iran for something Hezbollah does. I mean, you just can't. Like, it's not logical. But it's impressive on Iran's behalf that they're able to coordinate so many different militia groups, because it's necessary for their survival. But it also shows how coordinated they are. But for the countries and militia that United States soldiers have fought over the years, everyone keeps forgetting that, like, when they're like, "Oh man, but what about that time Hezbollah killed so-and-so, or this group killed so-and-so, a soldier?" I'm like, you mean these groups that are not from the Iranian state, that killed the United States in a country that we weren't supposed to be in? We weren't supposed to be there. I mean, I don't like ISIS or Al Qaeda. Don't get it twisted. Like, those are terrorist organizations, and the U.S. intended them to be so. Like, they created them, so that was their goal. But anyone that was killed, any soldier that was killed in Iraq, unfortunately, I hate to say they died in vain, but they died in vain. And I am former military, and I said it when I was in. It used to piss me off. I was like, I don't understand why you're constantly going on patrol. Why are we leaving the FOB? I didn't go. I refused to go. But I'm like, why would y'all leave the FOB? Because when I'm hearing news that somebody died from my unit, and I'm finding out it's because they got hit by an IED while they were on patrol, I'm like, y'all were on patrol for what? We've never been attacked. The FOB, which is like the base that we put up, never was attacked. Why would y'all? So y'all basically leave the fucking base going to look for trouble? Because if we're looking for them, ladies and gentlemen, think about it, just logically speaking, from a military strategy perspective, if we were allegedly in Iraq, Afghanistan, for example, to go get somebody, went to go get Osama bin Laden, allegedly. Why would we go on patrol at night, knowing that there are improvised explosive devices all over the road that we help create? We know how dangerous they are. Assuming, when I'm talking about patrol, it ain't like there's like 200 meters down the road. They doing like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clicks. Like, bro, man, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up to get attacked by somebody who is never going to come near us because they don't want to be found, you dumbasses. It was almost like they had to like, doing patrol is smart, but you do patrol in a way that is productive and is not going to put your life in danger, in a way that is commonsensical. But it was almost like we were doing patrols at some points, like based off of whatever. I can only speak from based off of what I know our unit did. But like, pretty sure most units do it like this. Like, it was almost like we were doing it to have an excuse for somebody to die, for the reports to come back to be like, oh, look at this soldier who died fighting for their country. No, they were doing patrol in a situation that was not necessary to go that far out and put themselves in that particular type of danger. Like, you were basically just giving them a moving target. When those people died, when those soldiers died, they didn't understand the terrain. They didn't understand the area. You know why they didn't understand? They didn't know. You know why? Because they weren't supposed to be there. It's not their home. That's it. It's not their home. It's not their oil. There were no weapons of mass destruction. And Osama bin Laden was allegedly found in fucking Pakistan, of all places. So don't even get me started on that. But we can't continue to allow this talking point to float out there that Iranian proxies have killed American. No. Has Iran killed an American? No. Has Iran killed an American politician? No. Has Iran killed an American diplomat? No. And now Iran is even protecting you from yourself, because they know that if it was left up to your intelligence community, your FBI, your CIA, and they were privy to an Israeli attack that other people were not privy to, they would just let it happen. They would just let it happen. Am I wrong? Am I right? Or rather, am I right or am I right? Because we all know it's right. Y'all read the JFK files? Well, a man whose job it was to literally be the barrier between the CIA and Israel, or the Mossad, really, and allow Mossad to carry out block ops, or even have the CIA carry out block ops on behalf of the Mossad, even though they didn't know. He didn't have to tell them, or the president. Come on, y'all. So it was Iran that saved the day. And in the last 24 hours, we have not even seen a fucking thank you. Even though we have been told time and time again in the last 2 weeks that Iran wants to wipe out Americans, and that is a justification for trying to take their nuclear capabilities away. And instead, They are literally warning us in advance that Israel was trying to commit a false flag attack against us. But I'm supposed to believe it's Iran we can't trust. I'm supposed to believe it's Iran who's evil. They have the evil regime. The same Iran who doesn't want to build a nuclear weapon, not even because, like, not even for the reasons, like, yeah, there are geopolitical reasons. There's definitely some calculations, some game theory there as far as making sure that they don't provoke anybody unnecessarily and not giving them an excuse. However, it's actually religious. That's why they won't, because they don't believe in collateral damage. That's a US concept. Literally, the phrase collateral damage was invented by the CIA. It's not a thing. Killing innocent people, yeah, shit, collateral damage. You mean you just killed a bunch of innocent people? Yeah, but it was necessary because of whatever operation we had to commit, and therefore it's called collateral damage. That just seems like negligence. That seems like criminal negligence. Actually, I feel like there's a phrase for that. No, because the U.S. government did it. Therefore, it's collateral damage. I will say, since they won't, first of all, thank you, Iran. I appreciate it. I'm sure that Americans appreciate it because we all knew, right? Did we not get on this show and talk about this? Did me and David and Nick not talk about this when we did our show the other day? There have been Fiorella and Paz. I know they talked about it. I know a lot. George Galloway even talked. Bro, all of George don't even live in the U.S., but he knows how to. Being Scottish, he knows how Israel operates. Hell, Israel committed a false flag against Englishmen back in the day. So everybody knew. Everyone knew. And one could make an argument because I know that allegedly so far, there has been like this tacit agreement to a ceasefire. Iran has agreed to it. However, the thing that people, once again, have not really processed the fact that Netanyahu hasn't agreed to shit. He said that they've achieved their objective. I don't know what the fuck that objective was, because you said it was to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons that they didn't have, so that was an impossible objective to achieve. Allegedly, the nuclear sites that the United States supposedly just absolutely obliterated, that was a lie. False intelligence or propaganda, probably the latter, or a little bit of both. And by the way, I 100%. Y'all couldn't. I want people to understand, like, there were bombs dropped on a whole television studio in Iran, and they were able to continue. They had to go off air for a little bit, and they were so reinforced. Their buildings were so reinforced that they were able to continue their television program after. It's not like Iran is stupid. They understand who they're dealing with. So, do I believe that their buildings were attacked? Yeah. Are they in bad shape? Most certainly. Is their nuclear program destroyed? No. I don't believe that. Especially if Tehran isn't coming out and saying, like, oh man, look, they condemn the attacks, but that does not, if it was as bad as they say it was, if the destruction that had been done by the US was as bad as the US is claiming it was, Iran would not have stopped. They wouldn't have agreed to a ceasefire. There is something that happened between the three where Iran's like, yeah, I mean, shit, we good. Like, if y'all ready to actually stop, but don't get it twisted, we can still pop off on Israel whenever we feel like it. So don't forget. But if they actually had committed as much damage as they claim to have committed, I don't believe it would have stopped. That's why Rubio is making the rounds right now, trying to attack this intelligence leak. I'm like, hold on, y'all, you calling this an intelligence leak? As if it's an intelligence leak, you're confirming the intelligence. Just right? Does that make sense? If it was a lie, I wouldn't even refer to it as a leak. I would just call it oh, it's just a lie being put out by the media. It's a lie being put out by some analysts. It's a lie being put out by somebody that's seeking attention. But, you know, I can confirm, the DNI confirmed that we did, but no. He's like, the person who leaked this betrayed the country. Hold on, why are you so upset about something that isn't true? Because in my experience, so they get upset the most whenever a leak is the truth, right? And that goes, that the same rings true for both the Democrats and the Republicans. That's both of them. A leak that doesn't really mean anything, like, you're like, yeah, whatever. It's bullshit. In fact, Rubio specifically, whenever there was a leak that the Chinese, that Xi Jinping, or either Xi Jinping or their foreign minister had made some kind of rude comment towards Marco Rubio, the media had tried to convince him that that had happened. And he said, no, I don't believe that. That's not true. That's not the vibe I got from him. No one translated that. That was not how I left the feeling the conversation went. And I'm not going to allow them to try and convince me otherwise. Because he knew it was not true. He knew that somebody was trying to goad him. In this situation, he's like, whoever leaked that intelligence is a traitor to the nation. For real, hold on, let me see back up on that clip, just real quick. Because his reaction to it is just like in my opinion, it's over the top. What is it? One second, I forgot to put it in my file, so I gotta find it. But I was like, yo, why is he acting like that? If it's not true, then why are you going over the top to, oh, that's one. Oh, I found the other clip, but I don't think I found. Give me a second.
Makes a decision. His instincts are uncanny, and we have to appreciate
that.
That's one of the things.
Oh, that's that creepy ass comment. You know, Marco Rubio said Trump instincts are uncanny. When he says this, this is the direction that I want to go, our job is not to spend the whole day trying to change his mind. Our job is to execute the president's vision based on really uncanny instincts. The person was like, yeah, this is a cult, because that's like, your job is to advise the president against, like, your job is to present all options, explain the pros and cons of everything, that every decision that he makes. Whether, even when you agree with the decision, you're supposed to, a good advisor has to advise like, yo, okay, this could go wrong. You should be aware. You should plan for it. And he's like, nah, man, we should just agree with everything he says and execute it. Yeah, it's like cold. Like, I don't know what's happened in the last couple of months, but there has definitely, in my opinion, been a weird like transition where his administration seems to be afraid of him to some degree. I don't know how to explain it. But there's a different vibe in his administration now compared to where they were at in the beginning, where they were willing to push back a little bit more. I really cannot find this damn clip. I just saw it. Sorry, everybody. Can't find it, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. Am my spider senses off? Or am I like remembering correctly? Because there was a little bit more pushback against Trump in the beginning. And it's like recently, everyone, like, even that Tulsi situation was weird. It was like she was scared of the man. I'm like, girl, you sound like a punk right now. You just got punked by Trump. He didn't even talk to you directly. JD Vance is like, how do you feel about the war with Iran? Please don't ask me. What's the line? Israel has a right to defend itself, I think, in something about nuclear, whatever he says. Yeah, just whatever, Trump, don't beat me when you, like, don't beat me, please. Don't take your belt off. I don't know. It's just weird. Isn't Rubio's the same thing as a Denny's? Is there a Rubio's? Is that a thing? I've never heard of it. Are you being serious? Because I would never eat there. It'd be like basically Taco Bell for Cuban food, wouldn't it? fake Cuban, making fake Cuban food. Like, fake. You can't even call Taco Bell Tex-Mex. I don't know what the hell you call it. But I eat it more than I should. I'll tell you that. So, to close on that point, I just find it interesting because this news is, once again, no one's denying the news. Nobody in the U.S., Israel, and obviously Iran, who broke the news, no one is denying that this is true. Like, no one's denying the intelligence about the false flag was received by Iran, passed to the U.S., and that the U.S. stopped the attack from happening. No one's denying it. Do y'all understand? That is significant because if it was untrue, then Israel would probably come out and deny it, at least. And the United States would definitely come out and deny it, especially given that all eyes are on all three nations. And this ceasefire is a sensitive subject, and everybody knows it could break at any moment. And hell, some people are arguing that it's already been broken. And once again, Bibi never agreed to it. So that's kind of important to mention. People keep saying that Israel has agreed to the ceasefire, and I feel like it's important to just restate. He said we achieved our goals. That's what Bibi Milikowski said. He did not say we agreed to a ceasefire. Iran said that. They said if they're not provoked or attacked anymore, they will stop. Trump obviously said that. However, Bibi Netanyahu has not said he agrees to a ceasefire. He says we achieved our objectives. Does that mean that he's not going to continue to seek to achieve more objectives? No. Does it mean he agreed to a ceasefire? No. And also, right now, we don't know when this false flag attack was supposed to happen because it was foiled. But for all we know, the reason he didn't agree to a ceasefire was specifically because he was expecting this false flag to be pulled off. And it didn't go the way he planned. So now it's really a matter of playing the waiting game. For those of you who are curious, I don't believe that this war is over. There are some people who believe that it's over, and I do not. I believe that there is a ceasefire, but that is all that it is. It is a ceasefire, and that's it. Because look at that weird-ass tweet from Trump. We're finding out that Israel was planning a false flag, and knowing, once again, everybody, I mean, this is Israel. They have backup plans on top of backup plans on top of backup plans. I'm sure that, hell, I'm not confident that's people are like, false flag incoming, and then a fucking church was shot up. Right? So usually in situations like that, whenever one, like there's a shooting that happens, another shooting that happens in like a bombing. And maybe the first two don't involve a Muslim, but the last one does. It's like Christian on, or like white on white, white on black, or something to that extent, or black on Christian, or whatever, and then a Muslim out of nowhere. And then we find out the FBI always knew about him, and Iran connection, Muslim Brotherhood, whatever. That's usually how it goes. So I wouldn't expect that last shooting that happened this week to be the last one. And it probably wasn't going to be. And I don't expect for Israel to desist. I believe that they're going to continue. I guess I might be pessimistic, but I feel like I'm just ignoring. I mean, can we be real? We're saying like the war started. They're calling it the 12-day war. Okay, but y'all acting like didn't they just get done shooting at each other like 3-4 months ago? That did happen, right? They killed some generals and officials and diplomats from Iran in Syria, and Iran responded, and then they responded to Iran, and like that did happen, correct? Okay. And then before that, even there were exchanges between the two. Like, it ain't no 12-day war. It sounds like they're more like in an on and off relationship. It's not over. Somebody's about to send a text at 2 a.m. talking about, hey, big head, boom. That's what's going to happen. And there's a chance, before we move on, there's a chance that Trump is kind of is somewhat aware that Netanyahu is sparking off these conflicts because he's trying to avoid accountability, because he's trying to avoid the corruption hearings, right? So that post that he put out on Truth Social could be him saying like, okay, bro, calm down, please. I'm going to go out there and advocate for you. We're going to see if we can calm down these corruption hearings. But please, for the love of God, like, we all know why you're doing this. Stop acting like a brat who doesn't want to be grounded, like who doesn't want his Nintendo Switch taken away from him. Please, because you're making all of us look bad. We can't, once again, like, for example, the Strait of Hormuz. I talked about it the other day in my hotspot video. The Strait of Hormuz. If that strait gets closed down, that is 20% of the world's oil supply. And they're like, oh man, Iran would still be hurt. No, because the majority of Iran's oil supply actually goes to China. But funny enough, they do use the Strait of Hormuz, but they also have a black market oil transport to China. So they can just close it down for everybody else. And yeah, it would be logistically difficult, but they can still get their oil to China. And they also are well prepared to defend their oil, that strait. If they commit a blockade, because it wouldn't just be them. It's a very narrow strait. It's like 2 miles long, I think, or 2 miles wide, excuse me. They have bombs. They have hypersonic missiles. They have more advanced technology than the United States was predicting that they would have. Like I said, they sent off 2 hypersonic missiles at Israel, and everybody's like, well, what? Where do they get hypersonic technology from? And that was only Mach 5. I said, I keep telling y'all. And if the Hormuz Strait is closed down, 20% of the oil supply, and everybody knows it's not just the oil. Everybody's saying, well, the United States has its own oil. Other countries have their own oil. No, that's not the problem. The problem is the price of the barrels of oil would go up to like $130 to $150 a barrel. The supply chain would be obliterated, and the United States would have to actually go up there and send troops, put boots on ground to fight to take the strait back. If that were the case, they would not win. That would be an L. And also other countries, Israel, get involved. But then once again, if that becomes a full-on war, other countries get involved in a situation with that particular strait that you don't even know you could win, because Iran is that thing is well protected. They got bombs, they got submarines. Dog, that strait is locked down. And when they announced, because the parliament passed that the bill to close the strait, they were only waiting on the supreme leader to confirm whether or not they're going to actually shut it down. But not even a day later, Trump was like, ceasefire, hold up real quick. We were just playing, y'all. We were just playing. Please don't do that. Come on. Y'all know, like, there's supposed to be like a back and forth thing. Like, y'all know our game, bro. Y'all know, like, they fire at y'all, we fire at y'all, you fire at them, we fire at y'all a little bit, and then y'all attack, but y'all give us a warning in advance to make sure that nobody dies, and then we forget like it all happened. Yo, you don't close down the strait, bro. That's a problem. That's for real. That's what happened. People don't realize, like, that, in my opinion, that was all connected. Because they were waiting on it. You have to understand, that strait was a signature away from being closed. A signature away. And the economy would have collapsed immediately. And Iran is like, yeah, I mean, we'll take a temporary hit. Like, what? We're already suffering under sanctions and we're fine. Like, we'll figure it out. But you know what's worse than a temporary hit due to oil exports being reduced? You know what's worse than that? A permanent hit because of regime change that in a government that we no longer have control over. So yeah, I think we'll take the hit. They played chess and they took the king and the queen. And they reminded everybody, yeah, we're Iran. We're like that. Y'all forgot. We know exactly. We know who we're dealing with, but more importantly, we know who we are. We know that this is, I said in my hospital, this is not, there was a operation, Praying Mantis in 1988 over this strait conducted by the United States. Iran wasn't prepared then like they are now. Obviously, they took the strait back, but they learned. Every time Iran has taken some type of L, they have learned from their past. This is not 1988. Hell, this ain't even 1995, and they were already damn near unbeatable at that point. So the one body of water at this point that is maintaining their entire economy, you don't think that they're prepared to put y'all in the dirt and spark everything off to protect it? And you don't think that they know the leverage that they have? Like, everybody knows how important that's, because they do that. That trade isn't just with their quote unquote allies. They trade with the UAE. They send exports to the UAE, or at least it flows through there. Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Like, bro, everybody needs them, including people they don't like or that they don't necessarily get along with, including U.S. allies. And they were willing to be like, y'all, everybody go, kind of like how, remember when Russia forced everybody to start buying natural gas and oil for them in rubles? And they were like, yep, now you're gonna have to make a decision. And everybody's like, oh man, Russia's economy is gonna tank. Oh, no, it did the opposite. It forced all allies to make a decision to figure out how involved they were willing to be, how much sacrifices they were willing to make to allow NATO and the United States to continue to push that war. But in the case of Iran, it will be even more dramatic. Because China would be involved. And we don't really know which way that would go. But we do know, I mean, based off of what we know, China gave them the technology to make those hypersonic missiles. Oh, yeah. I mean, China did send weapons during this. There's a little spat between them. But like, I need y'all to stick with me here for a second. China allegedly has made hypersonic missiles that go up to Mach 10. Of course, they haven't used it, and they don't believe in getting involved in military conflicts. And they're not going to give anyone that technology, ally or not, because China still needs to maintain their strategic advantage. Okay? However, we can't, if something does pop off with the United States, and it's very likely that it could, we can't use these hypersonic missiles when we haven't even tested it. We haven't tested the tech. We haven't tested the guidance system. But we still got to test this. We still have to figure out if the basic mechanics and engineering behind this work. Hey, real quick, Iran, let me talk to you for a second. Y'all want some hypersonic missile technology? Now, we can't give you the goods. We can't give you the real deal, like the Mach 10, but we can give you a little something to hit Mach 5. That's more than enough to take care of Israel. Well, sir, you got yourself a deal. Next thing you know, while they're over here worried about what Israel can do, or excuse me, what Iran can do because of their nuclear technology, because of their enriched uranium, next thing you know, Iran is like, pop, pop, launches 2 hypersonic missiles. Israel can't do shit about it. And the world figured out that night, oh shit, they have missiles that we can't detect. And that's only Mach 5. And that's only what they've shown us. So when they announced, they launched those missiles first. Then they said they were going to close the strait. Think about it. We just showed y'all what we have versus what y'all thought we had. Then we told y'all, we'll shut this whole motherfucking economy down. Keep playing with us. And everybody like, ceasefire. Okay, that's cool. We see it. We've seen enough. We've seen enough. We got it. We heard you loud and clear. Please, for the love of God, do not kill the economy because everybody is, don't get it twisted. They're not worried about their money. What they're worried about, there are some people worried about their money, but what the majority of the world's population is worried about, midterms coming up, elections coming up. Nobody wants to be held accountable for a tanking economy because Israel don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. And you can't run up in Iraq, or excuse me, in Iran like you ran up in Iraq. You can't run up in Iran like you ran up in Afghanistan. You can't run up in Iran like you ran up in Libya. You can't run up in Iran like Syria, like Lebanon. There's levels to y'all. Listen, I just need y'all to do me a favor. I need my flowers. Because if anybody, American, I know there's a lot of foreign policy analysts who got this right. Shout out to them. I ain't even need to watch all that. I have been telling, when I say foreign policy analysts, I mean people from outside of the US that have been watching, observing, and said the same thing. But I've been saying this since I had short hair. And now look at how long my hair is. I've said how long, okay, if the US goes to war with Iran, they will find out how quickly that was a dumbass move. I've said time and time and time and time. I said they won't do it. They'll do a little tit for tat, but they will not put boots on the ground against Iran. I've said it over and over and over again, and I specifically said because they don't know what Iran is capable of. Iran is that quiet kid who sits in the back of the room waiting for somebody to test them. He the kid that you smack him, and right before the fight, he's smiling like he got excited, like, oh shit, yeah, boy, I've been waiting for this shit. Like instead of getting mad, he starts smiling when he about to fight. Yeah, that's Iran. That's Iran. Iran doesn't need to commit false flags. They don't need to plant car bombs. They don't need to do that. Because we know we can win. If you want to throw hands, if you want to throw the ones, if you want to knuckle up, if you want to thump, whatever superlative you want to use, we can do it face to face, bro. We don't have to do all that sneaky shit. We're Iran. That's why they're so confident, like to the point where you can almost call it a flaw because we cheering for like this is it's a Israel problem is a problem. If the problem went away, we wouldn't necessarily be upset about it. You know what we cheering for, but they are so undeterred, they are so unthreatened by Israel that they're like, let's just let them throw a little hissy fizz. Let them throw a little hissy fizz. We're not going to start a world war because Israel is Israel, because that's what they want, and we don't want to be the cause of more death than necessary. And we trust in our ability to defend ourselves so much that Israel can do what they do and we can respond and still manage to prevent a whole world war. And I've been telling people, I said, y'all don't know what Iran got, bro. Like, I don't know. Y'all keep pretending like y'all do. But I know the US well enough to know when and when they don't attack. If they know what you are capable of and they believe that they are more technologically advanced and prepared than you are, they will attack you. They will invade you. This is a fact. This is consistent with U.S. foreign policy for I don't know how long. But in the case of Iran, they don't even, God, they didn't even, like when it came to that situation with Iraq, they were like, hey man, can we give y'all some stuff and then y'all go attack them for it? That's just still, I don't know why it's so funny to me still, because like Saddam got played in that situation. Saddam got played. I mean, but we equipped them with weapons that Iraq used against us. But like here, man, here's some money, here's some weapons, here's some soldiers. Hey, go handle them, bro. We heard they was talking shit about you. Like we instigated them. Like, yeah, man, they was talking shit, bro. Go handle that. Handle them. We got your backs. Oh shit, damn. You got knocked the fuck out. And then we're like, yeah, so maybe we should leave them the fuck alone. Maybe we should leave them alone. And then we went to Iraq all the time. Like, think about all the countries that we went into and all the leaders that we've assassinated, overthrown, all the regime change that we've engaged in, while simultaneously constantly threatening to commit regime change in Iran and never doing it. I'm like, nobody else is seeing this? They're scared. there's a lot of long-winded ways that politicians, U.S. politicians, European politicians, even Israeli politicians, there's a long-winded way that they go about explaining themselves that just is basically them saying, yeah, we're scared. We really don't know how to handle it. We don't know. They're not even on the same message when it comes to, yeah, it's because of nuclear weapons. It's because they potentially could have nuclear weapons and we're scared. You're scared of Iran? Well, no, we're not scared. We're stronger than them. We know it. Then why are you scared if they have nuclear weapons? Because like they're a threat. Oh, so you're threatened by them? No, I'm not saying we're threatened by them. That's not what I said. Well, yeah, you did just say that. You're scared of them? Why? Why wouldn't you wouldn't be able to handle them? No, we could handle them. Okay, so go handle them. Well, no, we don't want to do that. We're not going, no. They're all different. They're all in different messages trying to convince you all that Iran isn't a threat at all. And they're also the biggest threat in the world. Bro, it can't be both. You get what I'm saying? It can't be both. But Iran is so unthreatened, unbothered by the Western Empire, at least as far as their ability. They don't believe in their ability to overthrow their government, that they got intelligence on a false flag that Israel was planning on committing and literally told the U.S. about it. Like, yeah, man, hey, we could let y'all suffer and let y'all deal with the fallout, but we don't even need those problems. Here you go, man. We're going to be the mature ones again because they genuinely don't believe in letting innocent people die. And that, you got to respect it, bro. You got to respect it. Let's read some of these chats real quick before we move on to the next subject. China's tech is decades ahead of the U.S. No way the U.S. could compete. Exactly. They are ahead of us. And hell, most of the stuff that we have in the U.S. was made in China. Like they're ahead of us, and the things that we made that we think would be effective, they made for us. So like any chink in our armor, so to speak, they would know. They would know what the chink is. They would know where the technology falls short. And anything that they would make for us, for example, like I just said, even with their allies, they're not going to give them the best technology. I don't care if you pay for it. That's for us. They're not giving them the best of the best. Like they let Elon Musk and Tesla build Teslas in China in a way that was very exclusive, actually. Like Elon didn't have to have a Chinese business partner to build his Teslas in China. And he's the only only CEO who was able to get away with that. Like China never does that. They never allow that. Even during the pandemic, Tesla was open for production. China closed damn near everything else. And the whole time, Elon thought that he was like, yeah, it's because we're able to manipulate the Chinese government. No, it's because China was actually unthreatened and they knew they had better electric cars coming out. You were just there to give us, make some money for us. And Elon found out the hard way. Oh shit, they have had way better technology than us this entire time. And Tesla looks like a Flintstone mobile comparatively. Good guy. If y'all ever get a chance, bro, just go on IG and look at the damn cars from China that are like $20,000 and they look, bro, they make Rolls Royces look like Honda Civics. Not that there's anything wrong with Honda Civics. I have a Honda Civic SI. I love my Honda. But I'm just saying. And they're able to do so with far less money. So, yeah, like, if you're aware, if you're the United States and you're aware that China is actively helping your allies technologically, you should. If you would be an idiot not to hesitate. Your military strategists should be fired if they don't take a step back and like, hey, you said China is helping them. Maybe we should wait a second because we don't know because they make our stuff, but if they're giving them stuff, that stuff is probably more advanced than the stuff that we have because they're actually allies. They're only doing what we ask because we have companies that work there that manufacture there, and we're paying them and they're making money from it. That is not that's cooperation, that's business, but that is not an allyship. Allyship generally means I'm gonna give my ally the advantage over your ass. And next thing you know, hypersonic missiles start flying. Cobra Commander, Iran is a whole ass country. They ain't Ukraine or Taiwan or Israel. They have millions and millions of people, 90 million people. But don't tell Ted Cruz that because he might get upset. He feels like having 90 million people or knowing a country's population is irrelevant when you're trying to commit a regime change war. That's what he said. Which is crazy to me. Osama Dade. A ceasefire only means the aggressor ran out of ammunition. Hey, yo, low key, that's kind of true. I mean, it means the aggressor ran out of ammunition, but also that the person who was supposed to be supplying the ammunition has not necessarily followed through on the commitment to supplying the ammunition to rearm. Even though America did give them like 300 Hellfire missiles, but I'm pretty sure Israel kind of ran out. I'm pretty sure because those 300 Hellfire missiles, that is between you're in a three-front war rather, with Lebanon, with Syria still, and Iran, and you're still trying to level Gaza and the West Bank to some degree. They're really trying to, annex the West Bank because they don't want to destroy it as much as they want to destroy Gaza. Like they're trying to they're going through strategically and just killing people in the West Bank, which is a whole different conversation. But 300 Hellfire missiles is not really a lot when you're trying to fight a three-front war. So I really couldn't agree more. They probably ran out of ammunition, and Trump was like, "Look, bro, like you out here, you causing problems for me and my base. It's hard to lie for y'all, but it's very difficult to lie for Israel because they can't even get their own lie straight." So really quick, Mamdani wins a Democratic primary in the New York mayoral election. And there has been a lot to process regarding his victory. And I'm not saying that I blame people. I don't blame people for wanting to be excited. I don't blame them. People want something to be hopeful for. And a lot of people, there are a lot of new people. They just started tuning into politics, right? They haven't lived through the AOC, the Tulsi Gabbard, the Bernie Sanders experience, the Elizabeth Warren experience. They haven't lived through it yet. They want a chance to be hopeful. And I understand why people would be happy that this guy won. He spoken out about Gaza, won the primary. And because of the demographics of New York, they're assuming he's going to win the actual general. But he's spoken out about Gaza. He has some populist plans that he says he wants to implement. Being a Muslim, being able to win in New York as a Muslim is actually pretty significant. I got to give him credit for that, right? Because it could have went the other way. Honestly, not being a Jew and winning in New York is pretty significant. Or not being like a rabbi Zionist and coming in third place even is like that's pretty significant. I ain't gonna cap. But the problem with that is usually at this point we assume it's because you were allowed to win. Right? That's what it ultimately comes down to. And I hate to sound like a pessimist. I really do. But even whenever I was on Dr. Wilmer Leon's show, I said that if AOC is endorsing him, it would be stupid if you're going to endorse somebody in the New York mayoral election, and everybody was expecting her to because of her being AOC and her district being in New York. Everybody knew she was going to have to endorse somebody, and it won't going to be Cuomo. That man is a walking rape charge. Like, just strategically speaking, it would be dumb to endorse him. He's toxic. I can't believe that Cuomo actually had the audacity to run again. Like, you get kicked out of your office as governor, which is already that's a huge position, right? It's one of the most famous positions in the state, or in the country, probably one of the most famous positions in the world. And you actually managed to decide to come up with the bright idea to run for the mayoral election in New York City, which is probably more popular. It's like one of the few positions where it's like they have technically less political power, technically speaking. But like we all know, the mayor of New York is probably more important than the governor of New York. And like, you didn't even give anybody a chance to forget that you just caught these damn charges, that you got multiple sexual assault allegations, that your brother tried to lie and hide it and cover it up. You didn't even wait. Bro, Democrats are audacious or stupid or both. Maybe it's a healthy mix of all of both of those things. Because there's no way, bro. Like, there were some people who voted in that election that I was reading. They just didn't want Andrew Cuomo to win. Because they're like, bro, like, you not about to act like you didn't just do what you did. And try to run to be the mayor. Because what's crazy about that is Mamdani was accused of such things, being a Muslim. They would label him a predator. Every question that he received would be about the alleged predatory behavior that he produced because of the color of his skin, because of the fact that he's a Muslim. I mean, like, we're going to get into into how everybody is treating this situation, but like the way the conservatives are reacting, bro, is absolutely fucking nuts. Like, they're like, oh man, he wants to implement Sharia law, and like Kim Iverson posted a picture of his girlfriend, which I'm gonna pull up a little bit, and I laugh. He's like, yeah, man, he's gonna force all New Yorkers to cover up like his girlfriend's covered up, and his girlfriend's like posing and like half naked, like just I guess like most Americans when they post for Instagram. Like, dude was like a rapper at one point, dog. Like, I doubt Sharia law is coming to New York. If anything, shit, to some degree, Sharia law was there whenever Giuliani was president. I mean, was mayor, excuse me. What was stopping and frisking, and it was getting crazy out there. You just stop people, just whatever. Like, you worry about him. But the reactions have been varied, and we're going to talk about them because I feel like it's important, because we got to learn from the past, but we also have to see where there's this xenophobia and bigotry and nonsense that he's a communist when he's not, and how he's responding is also important, because it's making me immediately. It made me immediately. I'm like, oh God, here we go. I don't know if it's ignorance. I don't know if it's on purpose. I don't know. Whatever. The people who are supporting him, that's also making me nervous as hell. I guess the positive side is like, man, Zionists hate him, so like they're threatening to leave New York, and I'm like, oh, that'd be dope. So I guess that would be one positive outcome. So let's check out this, for example. Oops. This is an interview that he did on MSNBC. And I'm like, okay, my dog, this is not really a good look. It's just not a good look. We're going we need to address this. This is why people are worried.
And I know that Jewish New Yorkers, like Jewish Americans, are fearful in this moment of anti-Semitism. They're fearful, especially after the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado. And they're fearful also in conversations that I have heard myself about life in this city. And I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg not too many weeks ago who told me about the fact that he now locks the door that he used to close, that he used to keep open for years because of a fear of who may come in. I spoke to a friend of mine after October 7th who told me about going to his synagogue for Shabbat services and hearing the door open behind him and turning around with a tremor going up his back, not knowing who was walking in and what they wished for them. And ultimately, it's through the conversations I've had with Jewish New Yorkers that I have developed a proposal for the Department of Community Safety that would include an 800% increase in funding for hate crime prevention programs. Because ultimately, we cannot simply say that anti-Semitism has no home in this city or no place in this country. We have to do more than talk about it. We have.
Okay. Now you see why people are a little bit okay, you're starting off wrong, my guy. Not for nothing, but can I be frank? My dude he's been on the receiving end of some of the most xenophobic, bigoted attacks that I have seen anyone in recent memory experience just because you happen to be Muslim and happen to be against the Zionist state of Israel committing apartheid and genocide in Gaza, and you get on MSNBC and you start talking about this increase in anti-Semitism that isn't real. It is not real. If you look at the examples, the genuine examples that are other than these anecdotal examples that people put out there that aren't true, like the genuine examples of the rise of anti-Semitism are like just false reports that aren't verified, and they're coming from the ADL. Who here values the opinion or credibility of the ADL? Nobody. Exactly. Okay. And your response to that, not saying that you have to like deny anti-Semitism exists, like you don't have to go through all like do all that, but you're like, I'm going to give more money and feed into this idea that Zionists need more protection than everybody else, as if people aren't literally threatening you and saying that you're about to implement Sharia law and hitting you with every single stereotype imaginable. And they're not even really in the mainstream to a large degree isn't even challenging them on this, on the sinister ways, the bigoted way that they're attacking you personally. And like, but you feed into this idea that Jewish people are under unique threat, that Zionists are uniquely under threat in New York, when it's simply not the case. Not for nothing, but outside of Hasidic Jews, you're not going to walk down the street and know exactly who the hell is a Zionist. Like, I can't just look at some random guy on Wall Street, be like, oh, that guy's a Zionist. Time to go to work. Bop, bop, bop. Like, no. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But when you talk about putting money into a hate, like, bro, you use Zionist struggle is a quote. Those are air quotes, in case you're not looking at me. Those are air quotes. Zionist struggle, quote unquote, to justify an increase in its funding for anti-hate crime unit. Okay, so what about everybody else? Because you do know racism has been a thing and probably will be a thing before October 7th, after October 7th. Hell, even in Israel's own country, let's be honest. Like, there is xenophobia. There are structural and systemic racial issues in New York, principally with how the NYPD treats certain ethnic groups or economic groups. And you're like, let's dedicate more money to Zionism and protecting Zionism, invalidating Zionism and their false claims of victimhood. Cool, you didn't run being a Zionist, but the moment you won, you immediately caved. The moment you won, you immediately caved. You're justifying giving all this money to a Zionist cause. But let's just, for example, say, as a black man, I don't give a, like, that shit it's not real. And also, where is that energy for the suffering of black people in New York? Because they're getting removed from their homes. They're getting gentrified. Anybody who's been like to the obviously we know about Brooklyn. Hell, you definitely know about Williamsburg. But to the Bronx, been to Harlem and seeing what's happening there. The way blacks and Latinos are getting gentrified and getting kicked out of their communities and being forced to move to New Jersey, still working in New York, but being like their entire family being forced to move to New Jersey just for them to survive economically. And it's because of these businesses. Like, you ain't gonna talk about that. We know how the NYPD treats people of color. You ain't gonna talk about that. Oh, it's hate crimes are important to stop now because Zionists are claiming that they're experiencing more than others. Sorry, bro. That's that's not a good sign. I'm just saying. And people are like, well, why are they being so hard? Why are they being so pessimistic? At least Cuomo? Yeah. So y'all want another AOC? We y'all forgot how that turned out? Eric Huzo, Trump's strength through cucking, making America safe. Chima Madu, thank you very much for the super chat. It looks like they just added Cyprus and possibly part of the Balkans to the Greater Israel Project. Yeah, I know. That's what I was talking about earlier. I'm telling y'all, in about a year or two, they're going to be like, what? It was never called Cyprus. But they about to etch that shit into the Talmud out of nowhere. They got for real. Y'all. I hope y'all people in Cyprus are actually prepared for what's happening. Like, because I know we joking about it, but like there are Israelis that literally they bought land in a matter of weeks. It's hard to. I need y'all to. The process of buying land is difficult. It's especially if you're not from the place. Unless you buy it with cash. And even with cash, it's still a process. And they're like, in the last week or two, Israelis are just buying land in another country. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, we know what that means. Good luck. Oh, yeah, all right. It's okay. Sir Bikes a Lot. Author of Human Transit, Jared Walker, says that fare-free transit equals fewer buses. Your vision is in your budget. Fare-free transit equals fewer buses. There to some degree that's true, but I don't know if that can necessarily be claimed for New York, because New York actually takes taxes like out. Like, even so, if I live in upstate New York, I still get money taken out of my check for the metro. People don't know that, like, but yeah, that's a thing. In fact, I know a candidate that ran on stopping that, basically. But in the case of New York, I'm not sure if that's true. Just to be clear, it could be. I would have to sit down and look at the numbers, et cetera, et cetera. But I do know that New York wastes a lot of money, and New York also charges, for example, obscene amounts of money to enter the city via personal vehicles. Right? Have y'all driven to New York City before? Like, dog, the last time I know it's higher than that, but the last time I went to New York, the toll was like $17 to enter the city, to enter. And then if you want to leave the same day, you're paying $17 more. And that's like the first toll. You got to pay if you want to enter the Bronx. You got to pay and there's so many people paying for tolls that it makes sense that you would assume that public transportation would actually start to reduce in price, because so many people are starting to drive, because unfortunately cost of living has become so high in New York that people are living outside of the city. So they have to drive into the city to work, and they return home outside of the city, and more people are driving more than ever. So if the money was being spent wisely and being allocated the way it was supposed to, it should reduce the amount people have to pay to ride the subway, to ride the buses, but it's not. That is also rising. And it's not like everybody is getting raises to the degree that you would think they are. Right? So I'm not saying that the transportation should be absolutely free, but I do believe that there should be a lot more exceptions. For example, in Brazil, students ride for free. College students also ride for free. In some jobs, they actually have to pay for your transportation. And if that's the case, a lot of the time the transportation, they'll give a discount to the job because the job pays in front, right? They pay like a month in advance. Things like that. Like, there should be some type of exception. It should be accessible. Like, one of my biggest gripes, I'm a New Yorker. I was born in New York. When I moved back to New York as an adult, I couldn't believe. I'm like, bro, like, I have to measure every day to think, like, is it cheaper to drive, or would it make more sense to take the metro? And then I started thinking, like, damn, bro, if I had a family, this could be a problem. Because if I didn't have a car, right? For example, my uncle and my cousins live there still. And I was like thinking, they have a car, but I was just thinking, like, damn. So like, whenever they were all in high school at the same time, they didn't go to the same high school. So there was that. So one's taking a metro, others taking the bus, others taking the metro. My uncle has to go to work. and my aunt has to go to work. My aunt drove the car, so like he was likely taking the metro or the subway, wherever he was going. And I'm like, bro, that's like $7 every time you. What the hell? So like, it's cheaper for at that, but they made the decision to buy a car because it was literally cheaper. Now, because you have to consider the parking, all that stuff. It's actually more expensive in New York, even insurance. But literally, because they have actually a family, it was too expensive for them to pay for everyone to take public transportation every day to go do whatever they have to do and return home. That is absolutely insane. It kind of defeats the point of living in New York. So, yeah. Anyway, back to Mamdani. Other thing that, he gets raised red flags for people who've been paying attention for longer than a year. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez endorses Zoran Mamdani as top choice for mayor. Y'all remember this? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a once-in-a-generation leader who has led the fight for working class people in Congress. That's not true. 2018, she shocked the world and transformed our politics. Shocked the world, yeah, transformed our politics. Not in a way that was beneficial. She transformed our politics into being more superficial and less effective than ever before. On June 24th, with AOC's support and this movement behind us, we will do the same. Yeah, see, doing the same as AOC is not inspiring confidence because she has been a net negative. Like at best, she's been zero, right? But at worst, if we're being honest, she's been a net negative on the movement. She's caused divisions and fissions within the movement that have damn near been unreparable because people kept saying that we were being too hard on her by expecting her to follow through on her fucking promises. And I don't know, not lie by Jill Stein, the Green Party, after she steals their platform and to win an election. Like, basic things like that we were requesting of her. Maybe not endorse the man who sexually assaulted Tara Reid. Maybe not do that. Maybe not lie and tell everybody that Kamala Harris was working tirelessly to prevent a genocide. If he was gonna stand on business, like I'm not saying be like, nah, fuck you, you ain't gotta do all that. But you could just let it slide. You could just, okay, cool, whatever. You don't have to acknowledge it. You don't have to celebrate it, and you don't have to celebrate her for being somebody that she is not when she's actually been problematic to the movement. The only reason that you would celebrate that is if you were being opportunistic and you had some intention to engage in the same type of behavior that she engaged in politically. I hope that's not the case, but do you understand where people are coming from? I'm not really trying to tell y'all how to feel about him being victorious. I'm just trying to help y'all understand why people are so skeptical. There are legitimate patterns that we're seeing with his victory and his responses that should make people at least be a little aware or conscious before they put all their eggs in one basket, expecting him to be somebody that he's not. Expecting him to save the day. Because at the end of the day, we can't trust politicians to save the day. Hell, Kshama Sawant's running for office. I hope she wins. I think she's great. And she would probably tell you, don't trust her. She's going to do her job politically. She's going to do as much as she can. But really, her politics is in her activism. That's what makes her so great and so effective. She would tell you not to trust politicians. She would tell you not to trust. She would say, you can trust me as a person, but as a politician, don't trust politicians. She would tell you that. You can trust the activist, Kshama Sawant. And it's because we've seen the consistency. But she would not get on the news after winning an important election. And she's running for one right now. But she wouldn't get on the news and then try to convince y'all that we got to look out for Zionists, but we got to invest more money into Zionism. That's how we should be investing the money of New Yorkers. It's not a good look. She wouldn't, if AOC endorsed her, which would never happen, but if AOC endorsed Kashama Sawant, I don't know. Kashama might actually be like, nah, you can keep that shit. She might actually be the one to say that. I don't know, but she definitely wouldn't be cheering it and celebrating it as if it's something to be like grateful for. I don't want a duplicitous mouthpiece for the Democratic Party endorsing me, to be quite frank. I don't want it. I don't want your endorsement. I don't want your endorsement to be seen as a reflection of my politics and my integrity, because that's not a good look. But he brags about it. Here we go again. Look, this is... Come on, y'all. Elizabeth Warren endorses him. Now, granted, she was late to the party. It's the most Elizabeth Warren ass endorsement ever, right? Because of course Elizabeth Warren would endorse like a puppet, like a progressive, a neo-progressive puppet. I'm not saying that's what he is, but I'm saying that's what she would do. And then of course she would do it like the day after he won, and is a guaranteed to be victorious, basically, in this mayoral election. So like, it's the most Elizabeth Warren ass shit ever. It's like, but the way he responds to it, this means a great deal to me, Elizabeth Warren. Thank you for your leadership, your fight for working families, and your support. Like, nah, she's a snake. We all remember. So it makes me believe that you are, once again, that you fall into the category of these politicians. Right? You fall into the categories of the Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders of the world, the AOCs of the world. Or you haven't really been paying attention as long as people might think you have, right? And you aren't prepared for what's coming. You aren't prepared. Being the mayor of New York, y'all, dog, that shit ain't small potatoes. There is a whole other, like, everybody knows, like, New York, there's New York that everybody sees, and there's like the underground, like, how New York really functions, who's really running New York. That mob shit is real, y'all. Not beyond the politics. All the other stuff is also real. And if you aren't prepared, like, you don't even recognize who the snakes in the grass are right now, that's problematic. And then that doesn't instill confidence. And it could be a problem for the movement when people once again invest in somebody who is either not prepared for the job or never had intentions on carrying out the policies that he pushed in order to get those votes, and your money, and your time, and your energy, and your effort. He's meeting with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer in a few. Yeah, I know that. Like, he already agreed to it. But think about it. Think about this, people. Why would Mamdani need to meet with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer? Why would he need to meet with the Senate Majority Leader and the House Majority Leader or House Minority Leader for the Democrats? Those two have nothing to do with each other. I'm the mayor of New York. Chuck Schumer, from a perspective of like maybe wanting to just meet with another New Yorker who's also a politician to know what New Yorkers are feeling. Like, okay, maybe, but like, that's about as far as that goes. But you want me to sit down with party bosses, and 100% it's to tell him how things are going to roll whenever he wins. Because once again, yeah, there is like this small possibility that Andrew Cuomo might still run because he created a whole other party so that his name could remain on the ballot for the general election in case he lost the Democratic primary. But he said that he's reevaluating it because he actually took an L, and it looks like the party bosses have decided to get behind Mamdani. And if the party bosses have decided to get behind Mamdani, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a good time. Right? It's not a good time. We have to, it sucks. I don't like being a pessimist, but I'm not the type to ignore patterns either. Not going to ignore my lying eyes. Now, I will say this weird shit that we've been seeing about the Republican and the conservative response to Mamdani, like, oh man, he's a communist. There's nothing communist about that boy. I saw a post that was in, let me show you Kim Iverson post real quick. It was hilarious. And cap. She said, will women in New York be forced by this crazy jihadist to cover up their necks and ankles the way Zohran Mamdani's wife is forced to? Because literally, this man, he's just a regular New Yorker, guys. He just happens to be Muslim. Relax. It's funny. It's funny the way that that conservatives have reacted to this guy winning. Their biggest gripe with him is that he's not a white Zionist. It's actually kind of it's unsurprising. It's unsurprising. It's still weird though. Hold on, let me see if I can find that post. There was a post from Benny, what was his name? Benny Dumbass. I got hold on. Benny, what is his name? Oh, first of all, before we go to that one, this is from Blair White. This is in response to him winning, obviously. I know Blair White, the edgy trans girl who spent all her time raging against trans people as a conservative. Like, that was her whole shtick, but the shtick doesn't work anymore because, like, nobody cares. She's like, being Islamophobic is a basic survival skill. And I'm like, we have a Christian president and a Jewish prime minister who just tried to eliminate a Muslim country. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I can see it. You really want to have this they just tried to eliminate a Muslim country for existing. You really want to have this convo? We get it. Being the edgy trans isn't getting you attention anymore. Maybe practice some self-awareness before opening your talk hole. Yeah. Like, being Islamophobic. Seriously, y'all? Did we not just... It's crazy. Like, it's like, do you ever feel sometimes like we're living in two different worlds than other people? Because I'm like, hold up. You think that Muslims are the problem? The same Muslim that literally gave you a warning before they attacked the base in Qatar. They give you warnings so that you could save your people. Meanwhile, these psychopaths that claim to be Jewish are out here just bringing off fucking missiles at anyone and everybody. And even with Assad, they couldn't even use the excuse. It's like Muslims are the threat because they're mad at Assad for having a secular government. The relationships that they maintain, the allyships that they maintain with the countries in that region are with the most extreme, I don't call them extremists, but the most conservative, if you will. Like, they're basically dictatorships and monarchies that they do believe in Sharia law, and they are the most conservative. And no one has a problem with it. And they're not attacking them. Like, Israel isn't, and the United States isn't, is what I mean. So, like, but y'all want to keep talking about how Muslims are barbaric and are the problem. Like, once again, that shit strikes a chord with me because I know what that feels like as a black man to be painted as a predator merely based off of propaganda because you are trying to distract from the fact that you are the fucking animal, actually. There is a pattern that has emerged, and it is not the pattern that you are presenting to the people. It is this extreme Christian Zionism, whatever you want to call it, or people hiding behind Christianity, hiding behind Jesus' name, and painting everybody else as a predator to justify that they're raging this crusade in the name of Jesus, in the name of decency and dignity. And like, nah, bro, like, y'all are fucking psychopaths. Stop saying Jesus' name. He don't want nothing to do with y'all. Let me see. I still got to find this post because I couldn't. Benny Johnson, that's his name. There you go. This man, look at where you put it up. NYC in 2001. We will never forget NYC in 2025. Elects Muslim jihadists. What? Like, do y'all see this shit? Do y'all see this? Like, what's your policy critique? You don't have a policy critique? So it ain't the rent freeze. It ain't like trying to lower the cost of public transportation or rein in the NYPD. It's just the fact that he's a Muslim and he's brown. And that means he's a jihadist. Sir, you are insane. Yeah, like that is insanity. I really can't even put into words how that, and the fact that it got so many, like, bro, 164,000 likes. I don't understand. It's like, why are you calling him a jihadist? That's what I'm confused about. Is this man fought in some kind of conflict that you were aware of? I'm not aware of any conflict that Mamdani fought in. Like, is he just a jihadist because he's Muslim? And by the way, if my memory serves me correctly, the translation that is used for jihadist is actually not what people think it is. It's actually just suffering. Jihad is like just suffering, like a struggle rather. Like that's what jihad is, a struggle. Like you can go through your personal jihad, which is like your personal struggle, if I'm not mistaken. So like even the term jihadist is actually a misnomer, but Americans are Americans. So there's that. Also, I responded because I was like, this is insane. I said, well, there's one thing that we learned from the mayoral election in New York is that conservatives are still unabashedly and illogically xenophobic as hell. Also, you can blame your conservative president for allowing 9/11 to happen. Everybody else is following orders. And I believe that 100%. It wasn't Muslims dancing whenever 9/11 happened. Last time I checked, it was Israelis getting a groove on, getting jiggy with it. That's who was dancing, right? If I'm not mistaken. Are you kidding me, bro? Like I can't believe. I mean, you know, it's America. Everybody's free to say whatever the hell they want to say, but like, there is no this. Okay, so this goes back to what I was before we get up out of here. This goes back to what I was saying about why I feel like it was so important. It is so important to get 1 million subs. That's why I've been so focused on it recently because of this type of shit. Because it got Benny Johnson. I don't know how many subs he got, but it's too fucking much. Like it's comparable to like Jimmy Dore or George Galloway or that type of, like, no, there's no reason why this man should have like more influence than like Sabby or Nick, myself or David. Like there's no way he shouldn't even be in the same stratosphere of influence. But he is. Because we can talk about the ignorance of fans of his. We could talk about the ignorance of the support that he receives, but they support him. So his ignorance is allowed to permeate throughout society because regardless of how shitty his views are, how nonsensical his views are, xenophobic, how bigoted, regardless of the fact that he's steering his audience down the wrong path and having them focus on the wrong thing, and it's probably on purpose, that his audience, regardless of the fact that his audience is counterproductive, guess what? His audience still supports him. So that influence will remain. And at the end of the day, anybody that I've ever had beef with, like criticize, like that I've had criticisms of in the media, even though I don't really go around starting beef, but when I've had some, my biggest criticism really of everything or above everything and anything else is like, nah, their rhetoric has ripple effects that I've seen. Maybe people weren't paying attention to how it went down, but like, for example, whenever I always point to the moment where TYT endorsed Hillary in 2016, and that the impact of that, because these people built up a massive audience because of the Bernie campaign, right? And to some degree, I could give them some credit. People actually ended up getting into independent journalism because of TYT, right? That's not why I got into it. I kind of got like bullied into it by you guys a while back. I was doing reporting on the DNC fraud laws, and everybody was like, "What do you think about this?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess I can give my opinion about it." And then it was like, "What do you think about this though?" And then next thing you know, I had a radio show. I was like, "Okay, well, here I am." But no, in all seriousness, what happened in 2016, I never forgot, because I remember the unity, and then I remember how easily fractured the movement became and how hard that was to navigate, because people were trying to pick sides. But whereas if everybody was like, we got to call this election fraud, and really nothing else is as important as acknowledging the reality of what we just experienced and ensuring that doesn't happen again, and also making sure that we do not reward fucking warmongers just because you're afraid of the potential warmonger on the other side. I thought that was common sense, but I did not realize how much money the Democratic Party's power, this internal power struggle within the independent media community was influencing people. I had that because I was still new to this the scene, but like I will never forget the fracture that TYT caused when they endorsed Hillary, because I saw people who otherwise would have acted in a principled manner with integrity, would have challenged the establishment. They endorsed Hillary. And then they started working backwards from their conclusion. And that's all they would talk about. And then they attacked anyone who disagreed with them. Why? Not because they genuinely disagree with us, but because we were exposing the inconsistencies in their logic, in their politics, in their ideology, their espoused ideology, their claimed ideology, and they didn't like it because they felt like it was an attempt to comfort their territory. And what we were doing was just giving the news, breaking down the truth as it is rather than what we want it to be. But that fracture caused a problem. And then there have been ripple effects ever since then that have led to where we're at now. There've been some positive outcomes, right? But there have also been some people who had to bow out of the game because no matter how loud they were screaming the truth, the duplicitous bad actors and opportunists were getting a louder microphone, and these people weren't able to sustain themselves. And we lost them. Not literally, physically, but we lost great voices because of that. My little homie Sophia, I remember that was young. I mean, she was a genius for her age when it comes to her understanding of politics. Robbie Martin got his work stolen by somebody, I'm not even going to say who it was, but somebody that y'all well know. And it was becoming unsustainable for him because he was investing his time, energy, and effort and money into covering a particular story. And he was breaking everything from it. And then this person stole it and got all the credit for it. And then didn't want to give him the credit for it. And he knew it was because he had a bigger platform. So if Robbie came out and said what really happened, people would be like, "Oh, you're just jealous." And Robbie ain't jealous of nobody. Like, you're just, no, I just want, he never really asked for credit. But in that particular case, the dude was covering a story down the street from his crib. Like, you're like, "Yeah, dog, there's no way you could have gotten this information without me reporting it first." And he just like, "Yo, just give me a little mention in the article." Nope. In fact, the dude got mad at him. There are so many stories like that people don't even know about. And then you look at like the Benny Johnsons of the world, thriving in chaos. But I can't critique them as much as I can credit their base, because their base, as rabid and ridiculous as they may be at times, they support the people that they support. And there are people in our base that they'll support us, but then like if you disagree with them one time, if you might support something that somebody said, or if you're willing to coalition build or things like that, they immediately, oh no, I don't like you anymore. There's not that conviction that a base like Benny's would have. And it's a shame. There has to be some type of commitment to uplifting the truth. And it can't be shallow. It can't be shallow like we've seen. And it can't be based on this little rat race, a popularity contest. It's got to be based on the truth and who we know are going to uplift the truth. And we don't see that enough. We just don't. Sir Bike Slack, go read the Gray Zone piece on the dancing Israelis. They're just typical racist Israelis. Yep. I covered that. I actually covered. I did it in conjunction with them at one point. When they did the Dancing Israelis piece, I did a hotspot video about the Dancing Israeli piece. That piece is crazy, by the way. If y'all haven't checked it out, you should, because it's fucked. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, man. Like I was saying, we definitely, if you look at the way that this reaction to Mamdani, it's all those aspects that I covered because they were all important to cover. I'm not even making a judgment call on a guy yet. I like to wait and see actions first. And he hasn't ran for office. He hasn't served office. So I don't know. I can only know what his actions are if he wins. But I can advise and give warnings, because that's important, because we have to acknowledge patterns. And also we can acknowledge the xenophobia that's being spewed out there by conservatives, because that's also important. And we don't have to cheerlead. We can also acknowledge that Andrew Cuomo losing is probably better for everybody for various reasons, especially the humanity. Because if he would have won, that would have been insane. That would have been an indictment on society itself. All those aspects are important to discuss. All of them. And there's no need to cheerlead for him. Yeah, like I said, I don't have any emotional anything about. I don't feel any type of way about him. He's cool, I guess. He says some problematic things, and he will not get any type of support from me until I see what he does. Like Thomas Massey, for example, I support Thomas Massey. Why? Because Thomas Massey has a history of action and doing everything in his power to attempt to stop the establishment from engaging in the fuck shit they engage in DC. Right? Like, Thomas Massey is a Republican. That is why people are like, whoa, how could you? Back in the day, not now. Everybody understands now because Thomas Massey. But back in the day, I had been like peeping Thomas Massey out because of how he handled the CARES Act. And then that's when I started learning more about him. I'm like, dude, this dude is like legit. He's like everything that everybody believes Rand Paul is. But Rand Paul doesn't even hold a candle to this dude. Nobody. I'm like, damn, progressives don't even hold a candle to this dude. He's not even progressive. He allegedly is criticizing progressive policies, but then you like look at the things that he supports. You're like, it's kind of progressive, my guy. You're kind of a populist. You kind of want the best for the working class. He kind of reminds me like not really an anarcho-communist, but like he's damn near, he's close to it. Dude's like living off the grid and everything. But my point is he has a history built up. But this guy, it's Mamdani. It is important to cover all aspects of how the situation is happening because, bro, don't invest more in Zionists. It's problematic. But it's also great that you brought attention to Gaza, and it's great that you didn't bend the knee to Zionist propaganda in the moment while everybody was watching, because that debate was very popular. Everybody was watching. Everybody wanted to know what he was going to say, and he did make a stand. And I can give him credit for that. That's important. And if, you know, Zionists don't like you, that's all the better. And also the way that conservatives are covering him is fucking sick, and it's pathetic, and it's disgusting. And we know who did 9/11, or at least we have an idea who did, and it won't no random Muslim. And I guarantee you they were getting a paycheck from the U.S. government. Just saying. But that xenophobia that Benny is engaging in, the reason it's important to cover is because that is the very same xenophobia that led us to blindly go into Afghanistan and Iraq to begin with. It's like, you know, shit rolls downhill. We can't, like that xenophobia that Laura Loomer engages in is like that shit. I know we joke about her because she's an idiot. Like she is really an idiot, Jesus Christ. It was hilarious because she believes that everyone funded by Qatar is a problem. If you're funded by Qatar, oh my God, you work for the Muslim Brotherhood, you work for jihad, because they work for Iran and they hate the US and they hate Israel. And I'm like, I've known forever that Qatar is literally a puppet of the US government and therefore a puppet of Israel. I talked about it on the show several times. And I'm like, yo, whenever Iran attacked Qatar, and I was like, yo, I'm waiting for her to tweet about Qatar Agorda. I'm waiting for her to tweet about it now. Bro, and she hadn't said nothing. She said, because it was at that moment that she realized, oh shit, hold up. Iran attacked them? Hold on, we have a U.S. base there? Because I know she didn't know that. I know for a fact she did not know. The largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East is in Qatar, if y'all didn't know. It is. That was what was attacked. We have a military partnership with them. So does Israel. Yeah. And I'm like, why do you keep saying that if you get paid by Qatar, then you're like a pro or anti-Zionist, anti-American? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But a lot of her followers don't even realize that. So instead of acknowledging it and correcting it, she just is pretending like it didn't happen, basically. She didn't even like celebrate it. Whenever, she celebrates everything Trump does. She didn't even celebrate it whenever Trump was talking about it. She didn't even want to bring it up. Because she realized, like, I've been saying that Tucker Carlson is paid by Qatar this whole time, and that means he's anti-American and anti-Zionist. And I'm finding out right now that Qatar actually is an American ally. And this is why we don't uplift idiots. But mostly, also why we have to support each other. So with that being said, like this video, share this video, leave a comment below. Hey, come back after the video is, the live stream is uploaded. Leave a comment, it helps us in the algorithm. Leave a comment, let everybody know what you think. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Great conversation. Like the video, share the videos. Follow us on Twitter at Real Niko House. Also follow us on Hotspot. We just hit 40K, baby. Bro, 40K in like 2 years. We hit 40K on Hotspot in 2 years, y'all. Y'all know I started that shit from scratch. we had like 3 followers on Hotspot whenever I took over. Yeah. I started that shit from scratch, bro. I was like, okay, we're going to make this twerk. And now we hit 40K in 2 years. A little bit, I want to say it's a little bit less than 2 years. And what's crazy is, like, that's on X. We got hit on, because of Gaza stuff, really. But on Instagram, we had 100+K in like less than a year. And on TikTok, we had 200 to 250 or something like that. And on Facebook, we were even at like 50 or 60K. You know how hard it is on Facebook to do anything. And they hit us on everything except for X. They literally just nuked us. It sucks, but we move on. We moved on. We started focusing more on X. We're probably going to bring back our IG soon, but we're handling some stuff before we do that. So, but 40K Hotspot on X, man. So, shout out to our guys, man. Shout out to David. Shout out to Nick, other 2 content creators for Hotspot. Shout out to Greg, our editor. Dude is unbelievable. Y'all seen our House Spy videos, dog. That dude is, y'all might not know, but like he does all that shit in a day. He does all of our, y'all know we do House Spy, except for Nick, he doesn't do it on Mondays. But we do House Spy videos every day. All three of us. And he edits all of them every day. In addition to doing other edits for us for Hot Spot. So like, dude is like our glue. So shout out to Greg. Amazing. And shout out to everybody that follows us on Hot Spot. That's a big milestone, 40K. So we appreciate y'all, all the sharing and support and all the shout outs. We be, I can't respond to everybody on Twitter that gives us shout outs and stuff like that. But I be seeing them, bro. I be seeing all the shout outs. I try to respond to everybody and like tweets and stuff like that. But thank you all so much for showing love to the Hot Spot videos. And I appreciate that y'all like that format because I was racking my brain just to let y'all know like how we got started. Because I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't necessarily know how I wanted to do it. And that format, the format that we do Hot Spot videos, and I don't know if y'all realize, but like that wasn't a thing. I know y'all might see it more now on Twitter or on X, but that format that we do is not a format that was common. That, giving analysis on TikTok was like a thing, but it was like, cause like that's TikTok, whatever. But like giving a 2 to 3 minute analysis, a 3 to 4 minute analysis, while trying to incorporate all the information and, making it entertaining and edgy and including the clips of the way we did it for X, nobody had done yet. So it was like a total experimental run. I'm like, but I kind of like talking about like I had so much to talk about. Like back in the day, I used to do two Hot Spot videos a day. It just got way too tiring and our editor could not keep up. It was too much. But like, it was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. And I was like, shit, man. Well, why don't I just do it like this and just post it to X instead? And we were like, oh, let's try that. And it worked out. We're like, hey, man, hey, Nick, you want to come over here? You want to do this too? For sure. And Nick joined and, we took off from there. No, it's been cool. I love working. I love the work we do for Hot Spot. It's been dope. Hot Spot. Follow us on Hot Spot. It's Hot Spot at Hot Spot. You have it yet. Tim Black is cool. Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna leave that. I ain't gonna say no names. I see y'all saying some names in the chat. So I ain't gonna say no names, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just gonna say that y'all not necessarily wrong with some names that y'all saying. But I ain't got the energy to deal with drama this week. We got so much other shit going on. So I'm gonna leave it alone. When I do get the energy back, don't worry. Y'all know I'm with the smoke. I love the smoke. I love it. I want to debate somebody, bro. I haven't been able to debate anybody in so long because everybody's like running away. I know nobody likes to debate Niko anymore because it's not fun. It's fun for me though. I have a great time when I debate people. An amazing time. Like it's because I don't do debates that I'm gonna lose. Because also, if I'm arguing for a topic and you decide to debate me on it, I've already thought about every way you're gonna try to debate me. I've thought about every fact that you're gonna think of because the way I was taught to debate was to argue with yourself. Like if you come up with your arguments, right, for your to support your side, and you need to do everything in your power to switch your brain and prove yourself wrong. That's how I learned to debate. So I immediately started when I'm trying to research about a topic, right? I do counter research first. I do like opposition research on topics. So if, for example, I don't support Israel's attacking Iran, so I immediately start to look for all the ways and all the possibilities that Iran has nuclear weapons, and all the intelligence that suggests that Iran has nuclear weapons, and da-da-da-da. Like that's how I was taught to research. And then usually through that research, I found the truth about the other side as well. But like, you can't beat me in a debate, in an argument that I've already argued with myself. You've heard everything you said. I will say one of my flaws as a debater, it's not really a flaw, like as a debate, as like from a strategic standpoint, I'm just saying it's a flaw when I'm debating, is that I'll cut people off sometimes at times because I literally ignore exactly what they're going to say. And I'm like, I don't feel like wasting my time listening to an argument that I already knew you made, or excuse me, I already knew that you were going to make. because I got like written down. I don't even know. I'm like, yeah, I already got this shit almost verbatim. I knew what article you're going to pull up. I knew what number you're going to pull up. I knew what stat you're going to pull up, and I already got the response. So I don't want to waste our time here. Oh man. So yeah, that's why I understand. I wouldn't want to debate Niko either. That's why Destiny asked. He had to make a whole phone call. He made a phone call to make sure that me and Fiorella cannot return back to an event because he did not want to have to take the chance of debating either of us ever again. I love it. I love the job. I have always loved debating, yo. I have always loved debate. Well, except for that. So my freshman year, after I won my first debate, I got my very, very, very first debate tournament that I was bullied by my debate coach into competing in, by the way, before I get up out of here. Y'all will love this story. It's hilarious. So I wanted to do humorous interpretation because I thought I was a pretty fucking funny guy. Okay. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be an actor. And because it's forensics. So in forensics, you have the debate side and you have the interpretation side. So interpretation meaning acting, you read a script and practice it, whatever. My debate coach bullied me. He forced me to do debate. I did not want to do debate because they spoke weird. I didn't understand them. By spoke weird, I mean like how elites speak, right? It was about politics, and he put me in the hardest debate event there is, which is Student Congress, which has more people. You're competing in a room full of people, and you have to, and there's like bills, and you have to present bills for your school. And like before the sessions even start, you decide which bills you're gonna debate. So like you get a whole list of all of these bills that you potentially might argue about, and you don't know until you get to the tournament. So you have to pick which bills that you're gonna do a speech on, and whether or not you're gonna be affirmative or negative. So my debate coach, being who he is, was like, yep. So what that means, Niko, is once we get the list, you have to write a speech for every single bill. Affirmative and negative. Have fun. So I get fourth place, and then, which was crazy, because like, I just never imagined I was going to get fourth place out of like 25 people. And it was like a big deal. And I was in junior varsity debate, and my debate coach moves me up to varsity. And I basically get my ass handed to me for the rest of the year for obvious reasons, because it was like a different world. I was a freshman. These are juniors and seniors. They were like I said, at that time, it sounded like they were speaking a different language. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I lived on Strickland Bridge Road at this time. We don't talk like that. Like learning, like me studying for the LSAT and the SAT. Yeah, I did very well on it, but it was like doing Duolingo, basically. I had to learn a language and then learn the test. Okay? Anyway, but for whatever reason, something clicked by the end of the year, and like I understood everything. And then it was like, oh, this shit is easy. And I just started whooping. It was easy. I was just smacking people. I would go into Congress, and basically the first thing I would ask, like, okay, who's here to get second place? Because everybody knows what time it is, right? Niko's entered the room. Yeah. But it was like, I always had something prepared for affirmative and negative speech. Actually, at one point, held the record for the most speeches given at a tournament. I doubt, I'm assuming somebody has broken it by now, but like, it was because you have precedent, right? Just like in Congress, when you're giving a speech on a bill, there's a precedence, there's roles. And when there's a side or a bill that everybody knows the opposite side is the hardest to argue, I always had a speech prepared. And so at the times where people didn't have the ability to speak, like they're like, man, I don't got nothing for this. I do, shit. And you actually get more points whenever the judge realizes that you were more prepared to argue the side of a speech or a bill that no one else was prepared to argue. So like, yeah, I remember I literally was a target, and I had a target on my back from debate coaches because they were tired of me winning, because I didn't realize how invested these coaches and like the school board and all that shit was in debate at the time. I had no idea the politics that went on behind the scenes. I was just out there to just debate. Like, but yeah, I hated it. I did not like it at first, and then my competitive side kicked in. I'm like, well, I don't care if I like it. I'm not gonna sit here and get my ass whooped every Saturday if I gotta give up my damn Saturdays. So gonna figure it out. So yeah, bro, that's how I learned how to debate. Mr. McBride, dog, that was my debate coach, and he was conservative, and I never knew he was conservative actually until way later, like after I graduated, because he never like treated me like that. He never pushed his political views on me. Never. He never ever. I had, like I said, no idea. And then he actually tells me later on, yeah, like I kind of became more populist and more leftist because of you, like because he was following me in my show, and he's like realizing, like, damn, bro, like Niko's actually saying shit that I never considered before. So when I saw him again, he was like, Niko, man, like I'm proud of you. I'm like, for what? He's like, because you really understand your stuff. Like you took everything you learned in school and you're applying it to your job, and you're really good at it. Like I think like you're the best person I've ever seen. I was like, no, stop. No, he was like, no, I'm serious. I think that you're the best presenter or best analyst that I've ever seen. And this is one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life, Mr. McBride is. And so I was like, oh, I appreciate it. Like, man, I learned everything I learned from you. So I don't understand why you are so surprised by this. But it's because of where, not only like where I was, what I've learned, but where I started at. He remembers where I started at, how people would even joke at the beginning. Because like I said, when I was a freshman, 14 years old, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like kind of just winging it. So, but eventually, you got fight or flight kicks in. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Like this video, share this video, leave a comment below. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.